Hi everyone, and welcome to The Sleepy Scientist. I'm really happy you're here. Tonight, we're going to go on a calm and quiet trip to learn something amazing. So get comfy, take a deep breath, and let's enjoy this peaceful science story together. Before we start, tell me in the comments, where are you watching from and what time is it for you right now? If you like relaxing science videos, don't forget to tap the like button. Now let's begin. Imagine drifting across a boundless ocean, one so vast that even the horizon itself seems like a secret whispered by light. The water does not end, and yet on its surface bubbles rise and fall, glistening in the sun for a moment before dissolving back into the sea. Now, lift that image into the cosmos. Some scientists believe our universe might be one such bubble, floating in an endless cosmic foam where countless other bubbles shimmer unseen. Each bubble could be a universe with its own laws, its own stars, its own stories unfolding quietly beyond our reach. And ours, this universe of familiar galaxies and familiar skies, might be just one fragile sphere cradled on an infinite sea. The idea is called the multiverse, and though it may sound like a dream, it arises naturally from the mathematics of physics. In the very first instant after the Big Bang, when the universe was nothing more than a furious blossom of energy, space itself is thought to have stretched outward in a runaway expansion. This idea is called inflation. During this swelling, regions of space may have separated from one another, like bubbles breaking apart from the same stream. Some regions stopped inflating, slowing into stars and galaxies like ours. Others may still be expanding, unreachable, endlessly swelling in silence. Each of these regions is sealed away, forever unreachable, like bubbles separated by invisible walls of nothingness. To imagine such walls is to imagine something softer than glass, yet stronger than time. They do not shimmer where we can see them, but they hold the fabric of one universe apart from the next. The question then arises, if we are living inside one bubble, what rests beyond our horizon? The night sky, though endless to our eyes, may be just the inside surface of our bubble, a curved wall holding galaxies together in the quiet. Beyond it may be another bubble, stretching with its own stars, and beyond that still another, like pearls drifting in an invisible sea. Some bubbles may be bright and hot, blazing with unfamiliar forms of light. Others may be dark and frozen, never giving birth to life. And still others may follow laws so alien we would never recognize them as a universe at all. Now imagine our universe in its infancy, fragile and newborn. Quantum fluctuations, the jittering whispers of energy that never rests, shaped its structure. These tiny fluctuations are like ripples on the surface of the sea, guiding how galaxies formed, how stars clustered, and how planets would one day gather dust and light. Without them, our universe might have been empty and featureless. But some scientists wonder if those same fluctuations also sculpted the bubbles themselves, determining where one universe ends and another begins. In this vision, universes are not merely isolated balloons, they are siblings, born from the same storm of creation, endlessly multiplying in the silence of infinity. This picture might seem vast, even overwhelming, but there is a gentle poetry to it. Think of foam on a wave. Each bubble is whole, self-contained, yet all are connected by the water from which they rise, so too with the cosmic foam. The laws of physics are the water, the deep substrate. Universes rise as bubbles upon it, lasting for spans of time beyond imagination, until they drift away or collapse back into the unknown. We, as living beings, are not outside this process but part of it, a small ripple inside one delicate bubble. And yet within this bubble we carry questions as large as the sea itself. What lies beyond? Are we alone or surrounded by silent neighbours who will never know us? Some researchers wonder if signs of other universes could be faintly imprinted upon our own. When bubbles collide on the surface of water, they leave rings and scars where they touch. In the same way, if two universes brush together in the distant past, our sky might carry subtle patterns, circles in the cosmic microwave background, echoes from a time before time. These signals are faint, almost whispers at the edge of hearing, but they keep physicists listening. They keep us searching as though holding a seashell to our ear, straining to hear the surf of other worlds. The wonder of this idea is not just in the science, but in the way it stirs imagination. If universes are bubbles, then reality itself is not singular but plural. The stars we see at night are but one arrangement among infinite possibilities. Perhaps in another bubble, there are no stars at all, only endless darkness filled with particles that never shine. Perhaps in another, stars live for only seconds, flaring and vanishing like sparks on a windy night. And perhaps in another, life blossoms in shapes we cannot dream, never knowing we exist, just as we cannot touch them. The foam is endless, and each bubble is a secret that never leaves its walls. Our own bubble, though, is enough to fill lifetimes of wonder. It stretches nearly 14 billion years across time, its galaxies scattered like glowing embers across the void. From the Milky Way to distant clusters beyond sight, each star is a lantern inside our bubble. And within one small corner of this vastness, on a pale blue planet circling an ordinary sun, life has risen to ask these questions. We, soft beings with fragile thoughts, dare to look up and imagine the foam beyond. It is a quiet act of courage, a testament to curiosity. We wonder not only about our skies, but about skies we will never see. As we drift deeper into this thought, the image of bubbles becomes more tender. Think of how a bubble catches light, bending it into colours, making rainbows from air and water. Perhaps our universe too bends unseen light from the beyond, carrying hints of the infinite in its curve. Perhaps the glow of starlight, ancient and fragile, is more than just energy across space. It may be a reflection, the way a bubble glimmers before dissolving. Each photon, each tiny piece of light, is both a messenger and a mystery, a reminder that reality is never as simple as it seems. And yet simplicity has its own beauty. Even if there are no other bubbles, even if our universe is alone, it is vast enough to cradle all our dreams. The bubble we inhabit is not fragile in the way of soap and water. It is resilient, its fabric woven of space and time. It has survived the birth of stars and the collapse of galaxies, the fire of suns and the silence of the void. Whether or not others exist beyond, this bubble has given us everything: breath, thought, memory, love. In this sense, the question of other universes is both immense and intimate. It reminds us how precious it is to be here, to be now, to float in this shimmering sphere of light. Close your eyes and imagine the sea again. Bubbles rise and fall, born and gone in moments, but in their brief lives they sparkle, and in their sparkle they remind us of the ocean's endless depth. So too with our universe. Whether one among many or a solitary wonder, it is enough to fill us with awe. We do not need to touch the other bubbles to feel the foam. It is enough to know the sea is vast, and that we are part of its quiet bloom. To drift deeper into the thought of cosmic bubbles is to step into a labyrinth of quiet wonder, where every turn reveals another possibility, and every corridor stretches beyond sight. In the gentle rhythm of space, nothing is rushed. Galaxies grow the way corals do beneath the sea, branching slowly, silently, each one a reef of stars. Within our bubble universe, this process has shaped the familiar landscapes of night, spirals of light, cloudy clusters, dark rifts where starlight cannot pass. Yet if our bubble is only one among many, then these patterns may not be universal laws at all, but local customs, like accents in the language of reality. Another bubble might tell its story differently, with galaxies that bloom like spheres, or with no galaxies at all, only diffuse veils of particles that never settle into stars. The science of inflation paints this picture with subtle strokes. Imagine space itself as a fabric that can stretch and swell, not empty but pregnant with potential. In the first breath of existence, this fabric is thought to have expanded faster than the speed of light, not because anything outran light, but because space itself unfolded. In this wild expansion, different regions cooled at different times, and in cooling they froze into separate domains, bubbles of reality sealed apart by their differences. One bubble's vacuum state became the stage for atoms and galaxies. Another bubble's vacuum might never allow stable atoms at all. These variations, born from quantum fluctuations in that first instant, mean that universes are not identical siblings but unique children, each carrying its own character written into the bones of physics. Now pause with this thought and imagine yourself standing at the edge of a vast meadow at dawn. The grass is wet with dew, and each droplet catches the pale light of morning. To the eye they look alike, but each droplet has its own shape, its own way of bending light, its own moment of fading back into the air. The multiverse, if it exists, may be like this meadow. Our universe is one dewdrop, whole and self-contained, yet part of a greater fabric of countless drops. To gaze at one is to glimpse the beauty of many, even if we never touch them. In this way, the poetic blends seamlessly with the scientific. Quantum fields, cooling vacua, inflationary bubbles, all described in the language of light and dew. Inside our bubble, however, life has found a rhythm. Atoms congealed into hydrogen and helium, stars fused heavier elements, and over billions of years those elements shaped worlds. It is here in this bubble that chemistry and biology intertwined, that memory and thought rose from the dust of stars. But what if in another bubble this chain never began? Perhaps there are universes filled with light but no life, eternally brilliant yet forever silent. Perhaps there are universes filled with life so strange it would not recognize itself in us, nor we in it. Some bubbles might burn too hot, collapsing under their own laws. Others might linger in endless frost, their particles too sluggish to ever awaken. Each bubble is a story, some long and some short, written in the quiet ink of physical constants. The idea of a bubble universe also changes how we think of endings. For centuries, humans have wondered how the cosmos will conclude, whether stars will burn out, whether time will fade into darkness, whether all matter will fall into black holes. In a bubble universe, endings are not final but local. Our bubble may cool into silence, but others may ignite, others may collapse, others may give birth to yet more bubbles. Creation is not a single act but a continuous breath, universes budding like blossoms from the stem of the infinite. In this sense, death is not absence but transformation. The foam always churning, always swelling, always reshaping the sea of existence. Some scientists propose that even black holes might be gateways to new bubbles. Inside their silent hearts, where density climbs beyond comprehension, space and time may fold into something new. To us, a black hole is an end, a place where nothing escapes. But to the broader foam, it may be a seed, a budding bubble curling off from the pressure of collapse. If so, then the universe is fertile beyond imagination, with every death giving rise to birth, every collapse spawning creation. In this vision, we are not merely passengers of one bubble, but participants in an eternal bloom where life and death, creation and dissolution are simply phases in the song of infinity. Evidence for other bubbles, if it exists, may be delicate and elusive. The cosmic microwave background, the faint afterglow of the Big Bang, offers a canvas of subtle patterns. Some researchers search it for scars, faint rings that could hint at collisions with neighbouring universes. Imagine two bubbles brushing against each other, leaving a faint bruise where their walls met. If such a bruise exists, it might appear as an anomaly in the smoothness of the sky's glow. Yet the evidence remains uncertain, fragile as whispers in the wind. The search continues, not out of certainty but out of wonder, driven by the human impulse to lean over the edge of the known and peer into the shadows. Philosophers too are stirred by the thought of bubble universes, for if there are many, then every possibility may find a home. Somewhere in the foam there may be a universe where time runs backwards, where entropy does not grow but shrinks, where memories come before causes. Somewhere else, perhaps, there is no concept of dimension, no separation between here and there. These are not just curiosities but challenges to our sense of uniqueness. If our bubble is only one among infinite, what does it mean to be here, to live this life? The answer may not be in proof or disproof, but in the quiet recognition that even among countless bubbles, this one is still precious. This one is still ours. As the thought unfolds, let the imagery soften again. Imagine a forest pond at twilight. On its surface, bubbles rise from unseen springs below, each one carrying a shimmer of air. Some pop immediately, some linger, reflecting the dim sky. You cannot hold them, but you can watch them, and in watching you feel the presence of something vast beneath. The multiverse may be like this, hidden springs feeding infinite bubbles of reality, some long-lived, some fleeting, all part of one deeper breath. To contemplate this is not to despair of insignificance, but to rest in wonder, to know that the universe is always more than it seems. Here in our bubble, we carry the ability to ask, that is our quiet gift. Whether or not we find evidence, whether or not other bubbles are ever seen, we live with the capacity to wonder, and in wondering we create meaning. Just as foam on a wave glistens in sunlight only briefly, yet carries beauty that touches the heart, so too does our curiosity shimmer against the backdrop of the infinite. We may be fragile, but in our fragility lies a power, the power to imagine beyond walls we cannot cross, and so we drift, listening for whispers, gazing at the sky, dreaming of the foam of infinite worlds. The idea that our universe is only one bubble among many is not meant to diminish our place in the cosmos, but to expand it, to remind us that existence is not a single story but a library. each book bound in different physics, each page filled with different stars. Within our bubble, we have learned to measure, to test, to write equations that describe how matter bends and how time flows. Yet as precise as these tools are, they may describe only one dialect of the language of reality. Another bubble may speak a tongue we will never hear, its grammar built from constants unlike ours, its poetry sung in forces we cannot feel. To imagine this is to accept that our universe is both complete and partial, whole in itself, yet one of countless expressions of something deeper. There is a quiet humility in this vision. For centuries, humans believed their home was the center of all things. First the Earth, then the Sun, then the galaxy. Each discovery pushed us outward. Each realization widened the horizon. The multiverse is perhaps the widest horizon yet. A recognition that even our entire universe may not be central, may not be singular, may not be all that is. Instead, we are a drop among drops, a bubble among bubbles, each precious, each fleeting. The humility is not in surrendering significance, but in embracing connection, that we are part of a greater whole, one verse in an eternal song. This humility also carries comfort. Consider the fear of endings. Stars burn out, galaxies fade, time itself stretches towards silence. Alone, such a fate might feel desolate, as though all meaning dissolves with the last flicker of light. But in the foam of universes, endings are not so final. One bubble fades, another swells, one collapses, another blossoms. The sea remains, always alive with motion. To see our universe as a bubble is to see death not as an erasure, but as part of a rhythm, a passing note in the music of infinity. It is a thought that softens despair, offering instead a vision of endless renewal. Some scientists wonder whether universes can truly be sealed. If bubbles are born from the same underlying sea, then perhaps they are not as separate as they seem. Perhaps connections exist, thin bridges, quantum threads that bind one to another. In this vision, the boundaries are not absolute but permeable, like membranes that sometimes touch, sometimes exchange whispers of energy. What would it mean if this were true? Could echoes of other realities brush against us, shaping our world in ways too subtle to detect? Could our dreams, our intuitions, our flashes of inspiration be faint reflections of other skies? Science has no proof, but imagination drifts where instruments cannot. And sometimes the act of imagining is itself a form of truth, a way of inhabiting the mystery with tenderness. Let us return to the imagery of bubbles themselves. A bubble forms when tension holds air inside a skin of water. It lasts for moments, then bursts, but while it exists, it reflects the world around it in miniature. Our universe too reflects its origins, carrying in its structure the faint imprint of its birth. The distribution of galaxies, the background glow of ancient light, the very constants of nature, these are reflections, fragile and fleeting, of something beyond. Just as a bubble reveals the air within and the water without, so our cosmos may reveal the unseen sea from which it rose. To contemplate this is to stand at the threshold, to see both what is and what might be, shimmering together in silence. And yet, even within such vast ideas, life continues in small, tender ways. A bird sings at dawn, a child learns to speak, a drop of rain slides down a window pane. These moments are not diminished by the possibility of countless universes, they're enriched. For if the foam of existence contains infinite possibilities, then each ordinary moment is extraordinary, chosen among endless variations. This sunrise, this breath, this thought, they exist here, in this bubble, and nowhere else. To be alive is to be part of a singular miracle, even if miracles abound beyond sight. The poetry of the bubble universe also invites us to rethink identity. If reality is plural, then who are we? Are we confined to this bubble, or are we echoes in many, reflected differently in each? Some philosophers suggest that infinite universes mean infinite versions of ourselves living out every possible path. Others argue that our sense of self is bound to this bubble alone, unique and unrepeatable. Either way, the thought reshapes what it means to be human. Whether one among many or one alone, we are participants in a mystery larger than comprehension, and that participation is itself enough. We need not solve the puzzle to feel its beauty. Now imagine standing at the edge of an ocean at night. The water is dark, but the foam glows faintly where waves break. You cannot see the whole sea, only the shimmering crests that rise and fade. The multiverse may be like this, glimpses of possibility glowing at the edge of perception, never wholly revealed, yet enough to remind us of the vastness beneath. The beauty lies not in seeing it all, but in knowing it is there, in feeling the quiet enormity that surrounds us. To rest with that awareness is to feel at peace, to know that we belong to something immeasurable and eternal. In the end, whether or not the multiverse is real, the metaphor of bubbles changes us. It teaches us to see our universe not as a fortress but as a bloom, delicate and radiant. It reminds us that endings are part of beginnings, that silence is part of song. It encourages us to carry wonder gently, like a fragile sphere of light, knowing that its beauty lies not in its permanence but in its presence. And it whispers that perhaps we too are bubbles, lives held together by invisible tension, shining briefly before returning to the sea. As this story draws to its close, let the image settle softly in your mind. The foam of infinite worlds stretching without end, each bubble a universe, each universe a story. We may never touch the others, may never know their songs, but we can imagine them, and in imagining we expand the walls of our own. For imagination is itself a bridge, a way of reaching beyond horizons. It does not matter if the bubbles are real in the way physics demands. They are real in the way that matters to the heart. They remind us that the universe is always more than it seems, always deeper, always wider, always shimmering with possibilities unseen. So let us float here, inside our bubble, not in despair of limits, but in gratitude for wonder. Let us look at the stars not only as distant fires, but as reflections of a greater sea. Let us breathe gently, knowing that to exist at all is to be part of something infinite. And when we close our eyes, let us imagine the foam, countless bubbles rising and falling, each a universe, each a song, each a dream carried on the breath of the cosmos. Imagine the universe as an ocean too vast to chart, stretching endlessly in every direction, silent yet alive with motion. On its surface, ripples drift outward, spreading wider and wider until they touch shores unseen. These ripples are not made of water, but of space itself, gentle tremors left behind by the birth of everything. They are the faintest of signals, the oldest of whispers, carrying the memory of creation across the vastness of time. To lean into their story is to lean into the soft murmur of the cosmos, a lullaby written in the language of gravity and light. In the earliest fraction of a second after the Big Bang, when our universe was younger than a heartbeat, space expanded faster than any storm, ballooning in a surge of inflation. Out of this roaring stillness, ripples were born, quantum fluctuations magnified to cosmic scales. They began as tiny variations, smaller than atoms, smaller than thought itself, yet they grew to shape the architecture of galaxies. Every star, every planet, every breath of air we take today is, in some quiet way, the child of those ripples. They are the hidden architects of the night sky, lining constellations not through intention but through chance. When astronomers gaze into the cosmic microwave background, the faint glow left from when the universe was only 380,000 years old, they are listening to these ripples. The glow is not smooth. It is speckled with slight variations, tiny differences in temperature no greater than a few millionths of a degree. Yet in those subtle patterns lies the story of everything, where galaxies would cluster, where voids would stretch, where stars would one day blaze into being. To trace those patterns is to trace the earliest breath of the universe, to follow the ripples at the edge of the cosmic sea. Now imagine standing on a beach at dusk. The tide is low and the sand is wet beneath your feet. Waves retreat, leaving behind delicate ridges, patterns carved by the water's rhythm. Each ridge is a memory, each line a trace of motion long gone. So it is with the cosmic ripples. They are ridges in the fabric of space, delicate lines carved by forces we can scarcely imagine, preserved for billions of years. The universe itself is a shore, and we are the wanderers walking its edge, marvelling at the patterns left behind by tides older than stars. The ripples also tell us something more profound, that the universe has a structure, a rhythm, a quiet order beneath the apparent chaos. Just as ripples on a pond spread in circles, the ripples of the early universe spread through space, setting the stage for harmony and pattern. Galaxies are not scattered at random but follow an invisible music, clustering into filaments and sheets, leaving vast voids between them. To map the cosmos is to see this music made visible, to recognize that the night sky is not scattered dust but the embroidery of ripples stretching across the infinite. Scientists call these ripples primordial density fluctuations, but the name does not capture their beauty. They are the breath of the universe, its first trembling sigh, its first quiet song. They reveal not only how the cosmos began, but also how it may continue. By studying them, physicists learn about the shape of space, the fate of expansion, the subtle balance of forces that hold our bubble together. They are like fossils of light, bones of the universe preserved in radiation, whispering across the ages to anyone who listens. And yet, there is poetry in their fragility. These ripples are faint beyond imagination, so delicate that only with the most sensitive instruments can we even perceive them. Satellites like COBE, UMAP, and Planck have spent years listening, tuning their ears to the faint static of the sky, separating cosmic whispers from the noise of stars. The maps they produce are not colourful skies, but subtle mosaics, speckled patterns that to the untrained eye look like random noise. But hidden in that noise is a rhythm, a story, a memory. It is like hearing music faintly through a wall, where the pattern is more important than the volume. The universe does not shout its secrets, it hums them gently. So these ripples also remind us of our own fragility. Just as the smallest tremor in the early universe could shape galaxies billions of years later, so too can small choices ripple through our lives, shaping futures unseen. The science and the metaphor intertwine, teaching us that beginnings matter, that even the quietest fluctuation can echo across eternity. To live is to ripple, to leave behind patterns we may never see, but which may shape the world long after us. The cosmos and the human heart are not so different. Both remember, both carry whispers of what came before. The edge of the cosmic sea is not a boundary we can cross. It is the horizon of time itself, the farthest we can look back. Beyond it, the waters are opaque, the light hidden. Yet even this limitation is gentle. We do not need to see beyond the horizon to know that the sea continues. The ripples we can observe are enough to remind us of the vastness, enough to show us that we are part of something larger than imagination. They tell us that the sea is wide, that the foam is endless, that our bubble is real and yet not alone. So when we look into the night sky, let us see not only stars but ripples. Let us remember that every flicker of light is a crest of a wave begun billions of years ago. Let us hear the hush of the cosmos, the faint sigh of creation that still drifts through space. These ripples are not gone. They are still moving, still spreading, still shaping the story of our bubble. And we, by listening, become part of their song. The edge of the cosmic sea is not distant. It is here, flowing through us, carrying us, reminding us that we are woven into the ripples of infinity. To move deeper into the story of cosmic ripples is to move deeper into the memory of creation itself. Imagine the universe not as a static canvas, but as a vast instrument, its strings stretched across space and time. In the first instant of being, those strings were plucked by quantum fluctuations, their notes spreading outward in waves that would one day form galaxies. The music was silent, beyond human hearing, but its echoes remain in the structure of the cosmos, preserved like faint footprints in soft sand. Each ripple is a reminder that the universe began not with silence, but with vibration, with a trembling that never fully ceased. Consider how these ripples shaped the stars. In regions where matter was slightly denser, gravity pulled harder, drawing atoms together, igniting furnaces of fusion. In regions where matter was thinner, galaxies never formed, leaving behind voids as vast as millions of light years across. The universe is a patchwork quilt of fullness and emptiness, and this pattern was woven by ripples billions of years ago. Without them, there would be no stars, no planets, no life. The smallest variations in density, so slight they seem like whispers in the dark, became the scaffolding for everything we know. They are proof that fragility can be powerful, that even the softest tremor can shape eternity. When we map the large-scale structure of the universe, tracing galaxies across billions of light years, we see not randomness but rhythm. Galaxies gather along filaments, forming clusters and superclusters, their distribution echoing the pattern seeded by the ripples. These filaments stretch like spiderwebs through the void, delicate yet immense, each strand a highway of stars. Between them, cosmic voids yawn like silent lakes, vast expanses nearly empty of matter. This web is not accidental. It is the fossilized music of the early universe, the frozen dance of ripples made visible across unimaginable scales. To see it is to glimpse the handwriting of creation, written not in ink, but in galaxies themselves. And still, the ripples are with us. Though they were born billions of years ago, they continue to shape the present. The distribution of dark matter, unseen yet dominant, follows their pattern. The growth of new galaxies traces their map. Even the future of expansion, the way the universe will continue to stretch, is linked to the rhythm set long ago. It is as though the cosmos carries within it a memory that cannot be erased, a score that continues to be played even as new notes are added. We are living inside this symphony, carried by waves we cannot feel, but which sustain us all the same. To imagine this is to imagine standing beside a great river at night. The water is dark, and though you cannot see the current, you can feel its pull, hear its quiet song as it moves past rocks and banks. The ripples of the early universe are like that current, unseen, intangible, yet guiding everything around them. Stars and galaxies are boats upon that river, carried by its flow. And we, small beings on a small planet, are passengers drifting in harmony with a current older than time itself. Scientists continue to listen for the faint traces of these ripples, using telescopes that gather not only visible light but microwaves, radio waves and gravitational waves. Each signal is a clue, a piece of the puzzle, a way of hearing the quiet hum of the universe. The cosmic microwave background remains the most delicate map of these ripples, but new instruments aim to go further, to detect the faint patterns of primordial gravitational waves, the very tremors in space-time that inflation itself might have left behind. If discovered, these waves would be like hearing the original chord of the cosmos, the first vibration that gave rise to everything. It would be as though we finally touched the edge of the cosmic sea, placing our hand in the water that birthed us. Yet even without such discoveries, the poetry of the ripples is clear. They remind us that beginnings are never perfect, never uniform. Perfection, in the sense of absolute smoothness, would have left us with emptiness. The imperfections, the tiny unevennesses, the gentle ripples, that gave rise to beauty. This is a truth that resonates far beyond science. In our own lives, it is often the irregularities, the flaws, the unexpected deviations that shape who we become. Just as the universe needed ripples to form galaxies, so too do we need ripples to form meaning. To be human is to carry the memory of turbulence, to let small fluctuations grow into constellations of experience. There is also a lesson here about patience. The ripples were born in less than a trillionth of a second, yet their effects unfolded over billions of years. They remind us that the fruits of beginnings are not always immediate, that time itself must be given space to work. Galaxies did not form in moments but in ages, drawn slowly by gravity's hand. Life did not appear overnight, but after eons of quiet transformation. So too in our lives, small seeds of change may take decades to bloom. The cosmos teaches us that waiting is not emptiness but incubation, that time is not an enemy but an ally in the unfolding of beauty. As we drift deeper into the thought, let us imagine again the cosmic sea. Its surface is not still but alive with waves and ripples, each carrying memory, each shaping what comes next. We are not separate from this sea. We are of it, made of the same atoms that once danced in those earliest ripples. When we look at the stars, we are looking at the echoes of that dance. When we breathe air made of elements forged in stars that themselves were born from ripples. We are participants in a story that began before words, before thought, before even light itself could shine freely. And that story continues, written in every particle, every galaxy, every breath. So let us not see the ripples as distant abstractions, but as intimate companions. They are not only out there, etched into the cosmic microwave background, they are here, woven into the very matter of our bodies, guiding the way galaxies cradle us, shaping the night sky we dream beneath. They are the invisible threads that stitch us into the fabric of the universe, the quiet reminders that even the smallest beginnings can ripple outward into eternity. To know this is to rest in wonder, to feel the ocean moving beneath us, to understand that we are never apart from the cosmic sea, but always drifting within its gentle embrace. The ripples at the edge of the cosmic sea remind us that the universe is not a frozen image, but a living memory, one that continues to unfold with every passing moment. To listen to these ripples is to listen to time itself, to hear the faint aftershocks of creation still moving through space. They are subtle, yes, but they're not gone. Even now, billions of years after their birth, they shape the way galaxies gather, the way clusters form, the way the great web of the universe stretches across eternity. The sea has not stilled. It is still breathing, still shimmering, still sending quiet waves into the future. To imagine the future of these ripples is to imagine a universe still expanding, its fabric still stretching outward like a tide that never recedes. The galaxies we know today will drift farther apart, their light growing fainter as the darkness between them grows. But the pattern set by the primordial ripples will endure, etched into the structure of space even as stars burn out and galaxies fade. Billions of years from now, long after our own sun is gone, the signature of those first ripples will still linger in the void, like fingerprints pressed into clay. They will remain as one of the universe's oldest truths, that beginnings leave traces, and those traces endure. In this way, the ripples carry a lesson about memory itself. Memory is not only in minds and hearts, but in the fabric of reality. The universe remembers its own birth, not with words or images, but with patterns, with rhythms, with quiet tremors of energy and matter. When we look at the cosmic microwave background, we are looking at memory frozen into light. A photograph not of galaxies or stars, but of possibility itself. This memory is not static, it continues to shape the present. To study it is to enter into a dialogue with time, to ask the cosmos what it recalls of its earliest breath. There is also tenderness in the idea that the universe remembers through imperfection. A perfectly smooth universe would be sterile, featureless, silent. It was the unevenness, the small deviations that made beauty possible. This is not just a scientific truth, but a human one. Our lives too are not perfect. They are filled with flaws, uncertainties, small ripples that sometimes trouble us, sometimes carry us forward. Yet it is these very ripples that give rise to meaning, to growth, to story. Just as galaxies were born from the faint fluctuations in density, so our lives are born from the fluctuations of experience. To embrace imperfection is to embrace creation itself. As we rest with this thought, imagine again the ocean. Waves rise and fall, some small, some vast, yet each leaves its mark on the shore. The sand is never smooth, but always patterned, always shaped by water's hand. Our universe is like that shore, and the ripples are its waves. We walk upon their patterns every day, though we rarely notice. The stars we admire, the galaxies we map, the very atoms of our bodies, all of them carry the imprint of ancient ripples. To be alive is to stand upon their shore, to be carried by their quiet rhythm without ever leaving the sea. Some scientists believe that by studying these ripples, we may come closer to answering the deepest questions of all. How did the universe begin? Why does it have the shape it does? What lies beyond the horizon of what we can see? The answers may never be complete, but the search itself is a form of reverence. To listen to the faintest signals, to look for patterns in the oldest light, is to honour the mystery of existence. It is a reminder that even the most delicate whispers deserve attention, for they may hold the keys to everything. Philosophically, the ripples invite us to think about connection. For if every galaxy, every star, every living being traces its origin back to these ancient fluctuations, then all of us are bound together by them. We are not separate stories but chapters of the same tale, written in ripples that spread across billions of years. The atoms of your body and mine, of oceans and mountains, of birds and trees, all of them were guided into place by the same primordial rhythm. To see this is to feel kinship with the universe, to know that separation is an illusion, that everything is linked by waves that began before time could be measured. Let us carry this thought gently. The universe is not only vast but intimate. The same ripples that shaped galaxies also shaped us. When you breathe, you are breathing patterns that were set into motion 13 billion years ago. When you look at the night sky, you are looking into the mirror of those patterns, seeing their reflection in stars. You are in every sense a ripple yourself, an echo of the first vibration, a note in the song that began with creation. To know this is to rest not in loneliness but in belonging, to feel the sea holding you as softly as it holds galaxies. And so, as this story draws to its close, let the image of ripples linger in your mind. The cosmic sea stretches endlessly, its surface alive with patterns, its depths filled with mysteries. We may never reach the farthest horizon, may never see beyond the veil of time, but we do not need to. The ripples are enough. They tell us where we came from, they show us how we are connected, they remind us that beauty lies in imperfection and endurance. They are the quiet song of the universe, always playing, always carrying us forward. To live is to drift with those ripples, to let them shape us as they shape stars, to know that we are part of something immeasurable and eternal. The edge of the cosmic sea is not an end, but a beginning, a place where memory and possibility meet. And as we float here, in our bubble of space and time, we can close our eyes and feel the ripples moving through us, carrying us gently into the future, carrying us always deeper into the mystery of the infinite. Imagine looking up at the night sky, the stars scattered like pearls across velvet, and feeling that what you see is only part of a much larger secret. The galaxies stretch outward in every direction, but there is a limit, a horizon beyond which our eyes, and even our instruments cannot reach. This is not because space ends, but because light itself has not had enough time to travel farther. We live inside a cosmic bubble, and its walls are silent, invisible, yet absolute. They are not made of matter or glass, but of time itself, a boundary drawn by the age of the universe. The idea of the cosmic horizon is as gentle as it is profound. Just as sailors once believed the ocean ended at the edge of sight, so we too live with a horizon defined by distance and time. 14 billion years ago, the universe began to expand, and the farthest light we can see comes from that moment when the cosmos first became transparent. Before that time, space was filled with a glowing fog, a plasma so dense that light could not escape. Only when atoms formed, binding protons and electrons into hydrogen, did the fog lift, and the first photons travel freely. Those photons are still arriving, carrying with them the story of our origins. They are the oldest light, the glow of the silent walls of the bubble sky. Yet these walls are not fixed. They move as the universe expands. The more time passes, the more distant galaxies slip beyond our view, their light stretched into invisibility by the relentless stretching of space. It is as though the walls are not only holding us, but also receding, always just beyond reach. We live inside a sphere that grows and changes, one that cradles us but also reminds us of our limits. No matter how far we look, there will always be an edge, always a source beyond which we cannot know. This silence is not empty. Beyond the walls, galaxies continue, stars are born, planets spin in orbits we will never see. Entire civilizations, if they exist, could live and die beyond our horizon, forever hidden from us by the silent walls of expansion. Their light will never reach us, their stories will never mingle with ours, and yet they are part of the same sea. This truth carries both melancholy and wonder. We are not alone, and yet we are separated by silence so complete it may as well be eternity. Physicists call this the observable universe, the portion of the cosmos from which light has had time to reach us since the beginning. It is like living in a room with windows that open only so far. We can see out, but only to a certain distance. Beyond lies a vastness that is real but unknowable. This is not a failing of our instruments, but a feature of reality itself. The universe is larger than its observable portion, and perhaps infinitely larger. The walls of our bubble do not mark the end of space, only the end of sight. And yet there is beauty in this boundary, for the silent walls hold within them everything we have ever known. Every star, every galaxy, every atom of our bodies. They define the stage upon which our story unfolds. Within these walls, physics as we know it applies. Galaxies cluster, black holes spin, life emerges. It is a finite infinity, vast enough to be inexhaustible, bounded enough to be knowable. To contemplate the bubble sky is to contemplate both the immensity of what we can see and the humility of what we cannot. The silence of the walls is also a reminder of time's direction. Because light takes time to travel, when we look outward, we are looking backward. The farther away a galaxy is, the younger it appears. At the very edge, we see not galaxies at all, but the faint afterglow of the universe's birth. Our bubble is therefore not just a space bubble, but a time bubble, holding within it a layered history of creation. To gaze at the night sky is to look into a time machine, to see ancient light whispering across billions of years. The walls are sent not because they are empty, but because they are ancient, holding secrets too far and too faint for us to hear. There are those who wonder if the walls themselves might carry faint imprints of other bubbles. If universes are indeed foam on a cosmic sea, perhaps where our bubble brushed against another, the walls would bear a scar. These scars, if they exist, would be patterns in the background radiation, subtle circles or asymmetries hinting at collisions long past. So far the evidence is uncertain, like shadows on water, but the search continues. Even silence may carry a trace of touch, a reminder that our bubble is not solitary, but part of something larger. The metaphor of the bubble sky is gentle to hold in mind. Imagine yourself inside a sphere of glass, perfectly transparent, stretching beyond imagination. The glass does not shatter, it does not bend, it simply marks where your vision ends. Outside, the world continues, but you will never step beyond. And yet, within this sphere is more than enough. Countless galaxies, rivers of stars, the possibility of life and thought. The walls are sent, but they are not cruel. They are boundaries that hold us, like the shell of an egg holding the life within. To live inside them is not a prison, but a cradle. As we let this thought settle, the silence of the walls becomes less daunting, for within them lies music enough to fill eternity. The galaxies swirl in slow dances, stars ignite and die, planets bloom and wither, black holes spin their dark songs. All of it unfolds inside the bubble sky, all of it connected by the same laws, the same threads of time. Beyond may lie wonders we cannot know, but here within the silence is a richness that calls us to wonder, to gratitude, to awe. The walls are not the end. They are the reminder that even infinity has edges we can touch, edges that glow softly in the night, whispering the story of where we came from and where we dream to go. To drift deeper into the thought of the bubble sky is to step into a meditation on boundaries. The silent walls are not harsh fences of stone, but gentle horizons shaped by time itself. They do not forbid us from crossing by decree. They simply remind us that light can only travel so far in a finite age. The boundary is soft yet absolute, and in its quietness it holds the paradox of the cosmos, a universe that feels infinite, yet is wrapped in limits we cannot pass. To accept these walls is to accept that existence itself comes with edges, not to restrain us but to remind us of scale. When astronomers measure the distance to the horizon, they speak of 46 billion light years. That number is not arbitrary. It comes from the interplay between expansion and time. Because the universe has stretched as light has travelled, the farthest galaxies we can see are not just 14 billion light years away, but farther still, carried outward by the swelling of space. This expansion is relentless, pulling galaxies from our view, hiding them behind curtains of redshift until they fade into invisibility. In this way, the silent walls are not fixed but dynamic, always moving, always changing, always carrying secrets beyond our grasp. Imagine again being inside a bubble drifting on the surface of a great sea. The water stretches endlessly, yet all you can see is the curved film of your bubble glimmering faintly with colours. Beyond, other bubbles float, touching briefly, vanishing into the distance. You cannot reach them, but you know they are there, their glimmers reflected faintly in your own. The cosmic bubble sky is like this. We see only the light within our own sphere, yet physics whispers that others exist beyond, separated not by malice but by silence. Their songs do not reach us, but their presence may still shape the quiet fabric of what we know. The silence of the walls also carries within it a question. Are they truly unbroken, or do they hold secret passages? Theories in cosmology suggest that what we perceive as absolute boundaries may in fact be surfaces with hidden depths. Just as a soap bubble shimmers with delicate films of water, the walls of our universe may shimmer with quantum fluctuations, tiny vibrations hinting at realities just beyond. Some physicists propose that tunnels, wormholes, or bridges might pierce these walls, rare and unstable but possible. If so, then the silence is not eternal. It is a veil, fragile and shifting, that conceals doors we have yet to open. Even without such speculation, the bubble walls invite wonder in their very stillness. The cosmic microwave background, that faint afterglow of creation, is the closest we can come to touching them. It is the light released when the walls became transparent, when matter and radiation decoupled, and the universe took its first clear breath. To look at this light is to look at the surface of the bubble itself, to see its skin shimmering with patterns from the beginning. Each fluctuation is a record of what was, each temperature difference a ripple from the earliest tides. It is the cosmic equivalent of tree rings or fossils, a history written not in stone but in photons. As we drift through these thoughts, the silence becomes almost comforting. Boundaries give shape to experience. Without walls, we would not know what it means to dwell within, to belong, to be part of something whole. The bubble sky may confine our vision, but it also shelters us, wrapping us in a sphere of order where galaxies grow and laws hold steady. Beyond may lie chaos, or other orders we cannot imagine, but here, within these walls, life has found a cradle. The silence is not emptiness, it is the quiet of protection, the stillness of a shell holding fragile light. Consider also how the silent walls redefine our idea of journey. In a universe without edges, travel is endless, and the notion of reaching a destination fades into abstraction. But within a bubble there is a horizon, a place where the known meets the unknown. Even if we cannot cross it, its presence shapes our longing. It gives us something to dream toward, a mystery to lean against, a frontier not of geography but of knowledge. The bubble sky turns the universe itself into an expedition, one we embark upon not with ships, but with thought, not with sails, but with imagination. The philosophy of the bubble walls is as gentle as their science. They remind us that not all silence is absence. Silence can be fertile, the pause between notes in a melody, the stillness that gives shape to sound. The cosmic silence beyond our horizon is such a pause, one that makes the song of the universe richer. Without it, the music would be overwhelming, a cacophony without structure. With it, the notes of galaxies and stars stand out more clearly, each one shining against the backdrop of what cannot be heard. The walls are not a denial, but a frame, not an erasure, but a context. There is humility here, but also peace. We often yearn for answers, for complete knowledge, for the dissolving of every boundary. But perhaps completeness is not the goal. Perhaps mystery itself is essential. The silence of the bubble walls reminding us that not all questions must be answered. Not all doors must be opened. Some mysteries are not obstacles but companions, walking with us as we grow, teaching us to rest in wonder rather than chase resolution. The bubble sky in its silence whispers this lesson softly, that to live within limits is not to be diminished, but to be invited into awe. So as we rest with this thought, imagine yourself once more gazing upward. The stars shine, galaxies glimmer faintly, and beyond them lies a darkness not of absence but of distance. The horizon curves around you, invisible yet present, the skin of your bubble glowing faintly with the memory of creation. You cannot touch it, you cannot pass it, but you can feel its embrace. It is the silent wall of the bubble sky, holding you gently in its sphere, reminding you that you are part of something vast, something infinite in scope yet tender in detail. To exist within it is to belong, to be carried, to be cherished by the quiet immensity of the cosmos. The silent walls of the bubble sky are not barriers in the usual sense. but horizons that teach us how to see. They remind us that vision has limits, that time sets boundaries, and that knowledge must always live alongside mystery. And yet, in their silence, they give us something extraordinary, a canvas on which the entire story of our universe is painted. Every galaxy, every cluster, every filament of stars lies within these walls. To contemplate them is to contemplate everything we have ever known and everything we may ever know. Beyond them lies the unknowable, but within them lies more than enough to fill eternity with wonder. As we lean closer to the concept, we realize that the walls are not static but alive. They expand as the universe expands, stretching outward like a balloon filled with air. Each moment, more galaxies slip beyond our view, carried away by the stretching fabric of space. It is a bittersweet truth. The more the universe grows, the more of it becomes unreachable. Light from distant galaxies is stretched into invisibility, their signals fading into silence before they can ever arrive. The walls are thus not only boundaries of vision, but also boundaries of memory. They mark the frontier between what can be recalled and what is lost, between presence and absence. And yet absence is not emptiness. Beyond the walls, the sea continues, filled with galaxies and stars, and perhaps even lives we will never meet. Their silence does not mean they do not exist. It means only that they are hidden, carried beyond the reach of our light. To accept this is to accept that reality is always larger than our perception, that the universe is more generous than our senses can measure. The walls, in their quiet way, teach us humility, that to know everything is neither possible nor necessary. What we are given is enough, and what we are not given is still beautiful, even if unseen. In this way, the silent walls also carry a lesson about time. When we look outward, we are not looking into space as it is now, but as it was. The farther we gaze, the younger the universe appears, until at last we reach the first light, the afterglow of creation itself. The walls are not just the edge of distance, but the edge of history. They are the place where time folds back into mystery, where light ceases to tell us more. Beyond them lies a past we cannot touch and a present we cannot see, a silence that is both a boundary and a promise. For though we cannot see beyond, we can imagine, and in imagining we stretch ourselves outward, reaching with thought where light cannot go. The silence of the walls also invites reflection on our own lives. Each of us lives within horizons of our own, boundaries of experience, of knowledge, of time. We cannot know all things, we cannot see all futures, we cannot reach beyond the walls of our own days. But like the universe, we are not diminished by these limits. They give shape to our existence, turning it into a story with beginnings, middles, and ends. Without boundaries, life would be shapeless, without meaning. It is the silent walls that make the music possible, the pauses that give the notes their depth. To embrace our limits is to embrace the possibility of beauty within them. Philosophers sometimes wonder if the silent walls are illusions, if what we see as a boundary is simply a matter of perspective. Could it be that reality continues infinitely, with no walls at all, and that our sense of a bubble is just the limit of our sight? If so, then the walls are not constraints but invitations, asking us to imagine the beyond. They are like the horizon on Earth. You can never reach it, yet it shapes your journey. Always present, always guiding, always reminding you of the vastness that lies ahead. Whether real or apparent, the walls perform the same gentle role. They keep us dreaming, they keep us searching, they keep us humble before the infinite. Now picture yourself once more beneath the night sky. The stars glimmer faintly scattered across the dark, and beyond them lies the invisible horizon. You cannot see the walls, but you know they are there, curving around you in silence, holding within them all that you can ever know. This knowledge does not feel confining, it feels tender, like being held. The bubble sky is not a prison, but a cradle, and within it we are nurtured by light, by gravity, by time. Beyond may lie other cradles, other skies, but this one is ours, and it is enough to fill the heart with wonder. As this story draws to a close, let the image settle gently in your mind. A vast sphere of light and silence, stretching outward in every direction, carrying galaxies like lanterns on an endless night. The walls are silent, yes, but they are not empty. They are filled with the memory of creation, the echo of beginnings, the quiet song of time. They remind us that the universe is both infinite and intimate, both unreachable and near. To live within their embrace is to live within a poem too large to ever finish, a song that continues long after we are gone. And perhaps that is the final gift of the bubble sky, the reminder that silence itself is sacred. We often fill our lives with noise, with answers, with certainty, but the universe offers us silence, not as emptiness, but as presence, as a space in which wonder can breathe. The walls of the bubble sky are silent, but their silence speaks. It tells us that we are part of something immeasurable, that mystery is not a problem but a blessing, that to live is to dwell within horizons of light and shadow. And so we look up, we listen, and we rest in the quiet truth. The universe is vast, and within its silent walls we belong. Imagine the universe breathing, not with lungs or air, but with the rhythm of expansion, the quiet exhale of space itself, stretching outward in every direction. Galaxies drift farther apart like motes of dust in sunlight carried on currents too vast to feel. This breath is not measured in seconds, but in billions of years, each inhalation and exhalation written into the fabric of time. To imagine such breathing is to imagine existence as alive, pulsing gently with a rhythm older than stars. And if our universe is a bubble among many, then perhaps each bubble has its own breath, its own expansion, its own rhythm in the symphony of the infinite. The concept of expansion is one of the most delicate truths of cosmology. For centuries, the sky seemed eternal, unchanging, fixed in its glittering stillness. But in the 20th century, astronomers discovered that galaxies are not static. Their light is stretched into red, a sign that they are moving away. The universe is expanding, carrying them apart not through motion, but through the swelling of space itself. This discovery transformed our understanding. The cosmos is not a stage upon which matter acts, but a participant, a dynamic presence unfolding in time. It breathes slowly and silently in a rhythm that surrounds us. In the earliest moments after the Big Bang, expansion was furious, and inflation so rapid it outpaced even imagination. In a fraction of a second, space ballooned by factors beyond comprehension, smoothing out irregularities and setting the stage for galaxies to form. Then expansion slowed, allowing matter to gather, stars to ignite, planets to take shape. For billions of years, the universe expanded steadily, a gentle exhale after the first violent breath. But now, we find ourselves in a new phase. The expansion is speeding up again, driven by a mysterious force we call dark energy. It is as though the universe has taken another breath, deeper and stranger than before, carrying galaxies away at accelerating speeds. This acceleration reshapes our vision of the future. Galaxies beyond our local cluster will drift so far away that their light will never reach us again. The night sky, once filled with countless stars, will grow emptier, lonelier, as cosmic neighbours vanish behind horizons. Our bubble will seem quieter, though in truth it is still expanding, still alive with the breath of dark energy. This thought is not despair but poignancy, a reminder that change is woven into the fabric of existence, that even the grandest scales are not fixed but evolving. The breaths of the universe are not ours to control, but they are ours to witness, to contemplate, to revere. If there are other universes, other bubbles floating in the foam, then each may breathe in its own way. Some may expand forever, others may collapse into themselves, others may pulse in cycles of birth and death, inhalation and exhalation without end. The multiverse in this vision is not a static foam, but a chorus, each bubble adding its rhythm to the music of infinity. Our universe's accelerating breath is only one note in that chorus, a single melody among endless variations. To imagine this is to hear not only our own silence but the possible harmonies of countless unseen worlds. Now picture yourself standing in a quiet forest at dawn. The air is still, but you can sense the trees breathing, drawing in carbon, releasing oxygen, part of a cycle too slow to feel yet essential to life. The universe breathes in the same way, invisibly, silently, shaping the rhythm of galaxies. We do not feel it in our bodies, yet our existence depends upon it. Without expansion, without the subtle balance of forces that guide it, there would be no stars, no planets, no life. We are not separate from the breath of the cosmos, we are part of it, drawn into its quiet rhythm with every heartbeat, every thought. Scientists continue to seek the nature of this breath. What is dark energy? Why does it drive expansion faster and faster? Is it a property of space itself, a pressure that fills the void? Or is it something deeper? A clue that our bubble is connected to others, that what we feel as expansion is the influence of realities beyond? These questions remain unanswered, yet the very act of asking them reveals our intimacy with the cosmos. We are all, yes, but we are also capable of listening, of sensing the breath of universes and wondering at its meaning. There is poetry in the idea that breathing is both universal and personal. Just as the cosmos expands, so too do we expand and contract with breath, with life, with time. Each inhale is a beginning, each exhale a release. Our lungs, fragile and finite, mirror the motions of galaxies and voids. To breathe is to echo the universe, to embody its rhythm in miniature. When we pause and listen to our own breath, we are listening also to the breath of the cosmos, feeling the resonance of being carried by something far larger than ourselves. As we drift with this thought, the boundaries between science and poetry blur. Expansion is not merely a measurement of redshifts and distances, it is a metaphor for existence itself. To expand is to change, to grow, to move outward into possibility. Our universe has expanded from a point of unimaginable density into a cosmos filled with stars and life. So too do our lives expand, from childhood into experience, from ignorance into understanding, from silence into story. Each of us is a small echo of the cosmic breath, unfolding in time, seeking meaning, drifting gently between beginnings and endings. The breaths between expanding universes may never be heard directly, but their rhythm is everywhere. It is in the galaxies retreating at the edge of vision, in the dark energy swelling the void, in the silence of horizons beyond which we cannot see. It is in the fragility of our own breath, rising and falling, fragile yet steady. To contemplate this is to feel both small and infinite, to know that we are participants in a vast rhythm, carried by currents we cannot control but can still love. The breath of the cosmos is not a thing to master but to join, to surrender to with gratitude and awe. And so we rest with this image, a universe exhaling slowly, silently, carrying us outward into mystery. Beyond our bubble, other breaths may rise and fall, unseen but real, adding their notes to the infinite song. We do not need to hear them to know they exist. It is enough to feel the rhythm of our own, to recognize that to breathe is to belong, to be part of the endless expansion, the quiet symphony of all that is. To deepen into the thought of cosmic breath is to imagine that expansion is not just a physical process, but a rhythm woven into the foundation of existence. Our universe is not static, not fixed like a painting hung in silence, but alive like a tide, always in motion, always carrying matter outward. The galaxies are not travelling through space so much as being carried by space itself, the way leaves drift apart when the surface of a pond swells. It is a movement so vast that it defies ordinary experience, yet it is the very condition that allows us to exist. Without expansion, without this breathing outward, there would have been no cooling of the cosmos, no stars, no worlds, no chance for thought. As we look back through time, we see that the universe has breathed in different rhythms. In its first instant, expansion was explosive, a sudden inflation that smoothed out irregularities, stretching quantum tremors across cosmic scales. Then it slowed, allowing gravity to gather matter into clouds, into stars, into galaxies. For billions of years, this slower exhale set the tempo of cosmic history, until dark energy shifted the rhythm once again, turning the gentle exhale into an accelerating rush. These changes are not arbitrary, but part of a larger story. A universe that is not mechanical but dynamic, not a clock ticking evenly, but a symphony shifting between movements. Dark energy remains the most mysterious note in this music. It acts not as gravity does, pulling, but something opposite. Pressure that pushes, a silence that expands. Its nature is unknown. Some believe it is a property of the vacuum itself, an energy woven into the very emptiness of space. Others wonder if it is a sign of interaction with other universes, a whisper of the foam, a breath shared across bubbles. Still others imagine it as a temporary phase, one that may one day change, altering the destiny of everything. Whatever it is not faint. Today, dark energy drives the majority of the cosmos, shaping the expansion more than matter or radiation. It is the deep breath of the universe, powerful yet quiet, unseen yet everywhere. To imagine this force is to imagine an ocean current that carries everything with it. You cannot see the current itself, but you can see its effects in the way driftwood moves, in the way waves rise and fall. So it is with dark energy. We cannot hold it in our hands, but we see galaxies carried apart, their light stretched redder and redder as they drip away. Each galaxy is like a lantern set on water, glowing softly as the current carries it beyond sight. The breaths of the universe are written in these motions, in the red shift of starlight, in the growing silence between clusters. If we allow the metaphor of breath to guide us further, then the multiverse itself may be a great lung, each bubble a chamber, expanding and contracting in its own rhythm. Some universes may breathe forever outward, never returning, stretching into infinite silence. Others may collapse inward, like lungs exhaling completely, folding into themselves until they are gone. Others still may pulse, expanding and collapsing in endless cycles. Breaths without beginning or end. Our universe, with its accelerating expansion, may be one among many, its rhythm only one note in an eternal song. To imagine this is to imagine infinity itself breathing, each bubble a sigh, each sigh a world. This thought does not lessen the significance of our own breath. On the contrary, it makes it more intimate. Each time we inhale, we echo the cosmos. Each time we exhale, we join its rhythm. The fragile air in our lungs is made of atoms forged in stars, stars that were formed because of expansion, because of the earliest breath of space. Without that breath, without that exhale, there would be no oxygen, no water, no life. Our lungs are mirrors of the cosmos, our breathing a daily reminder that we belong to the same rhythm that carries galaxies outward. In this sense, to breathe is not just survival, but participation in a cosmic act. The acceleration of expansion also reshapes our vision of the future. If it continues, then galaxies will drift so far apart that the night sky will eventually empty. The Milky Way and its neighbours may remain bound together, but beyond them all else will fade. Astronomers of the far future, billions of years from now, may look into the sky and see only their local cluster, unaware of the vast universe beyond. The cosmic breath that carried us outward will also separate us from the memory of the infinite. This fate is not tragic but poignant, a reminder that even the grandest scales are impermanent, that all things are shaped by change. Yet perhaps acceleration is not eternal. Perhaps dark energy will shift, slow or reverse, turning the exhale into an inhale, drawing galaxies back together. If so, then the universe may one day collapse, returning to a state of unimaginable density. Or perhaps cycles will repeat, big bangs followed by big crunches, expansions followed by contractions, breaths that never end. This vision too has its poetry. It tells us that creation and destruction are not opposites but phases of the same rhythm, that life and death, beginning and end, are simply inhalations and exhalations in the breathing of reality. Even if the universe continues to expand forever, its breath will always echo in us. We are temporary, yes, but we are also reflections of the eternal. Our bodies rise and fall with breath, our lives expand into possibility, and then return to silence. The cosmic breath is mirrored in every cycle we know, day and night, tides and seasons, birth and death. To see this is to rest in the awareness that we are never apart from the cosmos. We are not observers of the breath, but participants, carried by it, shaped by it, returning to it with every sigh. So let us imagine again the breaths between expanding universes. Each bubble carries its own rhythm, its own expansion, its own silence. We may never hear their breaths, may never see their galaxies, but we can feel the resonance of their possibility. Our own bubble is enough to fill us with awe, but it is comforting to think that beyond it, others also breathe, others also expand, others also sing. The foam of existence is not still, but alive, filled with the sighs of infinity, the gentle rhythm of creation itself. The breath of the universe is not something we can hear with ears or feel with skin, yet its rhythm is everywhere. It is written in the red shift of galaxies, in the faint afterglow of the Big Bang, in the accelerating spread of space. It is subtle, invisible, almost like the silence between heartbeats, but it carries everything: stars, planets, atoms, life itself, outward on currents of expansion. To contemplate this breath is to realize that we are not simply floating in space, but moving with space, woven into a living rhythm that began before we were born and will continue long after we are gone. As the universe exhales, galaxies drift farther apart, their light stretched thinner and thinner across the void. Already some galaxies we once might have seen have slipped beyond our horizon, carried into darkness by the breath of expansion. This is not loss but transformation. Just as a sigh carries air into the world and disperses it into silence, so the cosmic breath disperses light into invisibility. The memory of those galaxies lingers in the patterns of the cosmic microwave background, in the structures they left behind, in the quiet map of the large-scale cosmos. Nothing is truly gone. It is only carried beyond sight, folded into the fabric of expansion. This breath, driven by dark energy, is accelerating. Its pace is not steady but quickening, as though the universe has drawn in a deeper breath and is now exhaling with greater force. What this means for the far future is both mysterious and profound. If the acceleration continues without end, galaxies beyond our local cluster will vanish from view forever. The night sky will grow emptier, its richness fading into silence, until only the stars of our own galaxy remain. The cosmos will still be vast, but it will feel more solitary, more enclosed. And yet even then, the breath will be present, carrying existence forward in silence, a rhythm too large for despair. Some imagine a more dramatic future in which dark energy grows stronger still, tearing apart not only galaxies but stars, planets, and eventually atoms themselves. This is called the Big Rip, a vision of the breath expanding until all structure dissolves. If this fate awaits us, it is billions of years away, too distant for fear, close enough only for awe. It is another reminder that even cosmic breaths have endings, that even infinity has rhythms of rise and fall. Other possibilities exist too. Perhaps the breath will slow, perhaps it will reverse, perhaps the universe will inhale again, collapsing into itself before beginning anew. Each scenario is a story, and in each, the breath is the central character, shaping the destiny of all that is. To see the breath as rhythm rather than doom is to find peace in these possibilities. The universe may expand forever, or it may collapse, or it may cycle endlessly, but in every case the breath continues, in one form or another. What matters is not the final note but the music itself, the way galaxies have danced in the current, the way stars have burned, the way life has blossomed on one small planet. These are verses in the song of the breath, and we are participants, singing our brief notes into the infinite harmony. If there are other universes, other bubbles in the foam, then their breaths may differ. Some may exhale faster, some slower. Some may not breathe at all but remain still, frozen in silence. Others may pulse, expanding and contracting like lungs in eternal rhythm. The multiverse in this vision becomes a choir, each universe contributing its own breath to the chorus of infinity. We cannot hear the other voices directly, but we can imagine them, and in imagining we expand our own horizon. The breaths between expanding universes are not empty gaps, but spaces filled with possibility, with rhythms beyond our comprehension. Our own breath ties us to this cosmic song. Every inhale draws in air made of atoms forged in stars, atoms carried into being by the breath of the cosmos. Every exhale releases them back into the world, continuing the cycle. Our breathing is fragile, measured in moments, but it echoes the larger breath measured in eons. When we pause to notice it, to listen to its rhythm, we are listening also to the rhythm of galaxies, of space itself. We are not separate from the universe's breath, we are its reflection, its echo, its child. The poetry of breath is also the poetry of life. To live is to expand and contract, to grow and release, to begin and to end. The cosmos teaches us that this rhythm is natural, not tragic. Endings are not erasures, but exhalations, making room for new beginnings. The universe has exhaled into stars, and stars have exhaled into elements, and those elements have exhaled into life. We are the breath of stars, the breath of galaxies, the breath of the universe itself. To know this is to feel less alone, to recognize that we are participants in something immeasurable, that our small breaths join an eternal tide. So let us imagine once more the foam of universes, each bubble rising and falling, each breathing its own rhythm. Between them is silence, but it is not an empty silence. It is the pause between notes, the space that makes the music beautiful. We may never touch the other bubbles, never feel their breaths, but we can sense their possibility, and that possibility is enough to expand our hearts. The breaths between expanding universes are reminders that creation is not singular but plural, not fixed but infinite, not still but alive with rhythm. And as this story comes to its close, let us rest in the awareness that we too are breaths in the infinite. We inhale, we exhale, we expand into life and contract into silence. Our time is short, but our rhythm is eternal, for it is shared with the cosmos itself. The universe breathes, and we breathe with it. Its expansion carries us, its silence surrounds us, its rhythm shapes us. To exist at all is to be part of this breath, to be a note in the great exhalation of being. And so we rest, knowing that we are part of the breaths between expanding universes, carried forever in the song of infinity. There is a question as old as thought itself. How can something arise from nothing? To imagine the universe before its birth is to imagine silence deeper than silence, emptiness beyond emptiness, a void with no stars, no matter, not even time to measure its stillness. And yet from this nothing everything emerged. Space unfolded, time began, energy flared into being, matter condensed, and the story of galaxies, planets, and life began. The paradox is overwhelming, yet it is also gentle, for it reminds us that even emptiness carries the possibility of creation. Nothing is not absence, but potential waiting to bloom. Physicists speak of the quantum vacuum, a nothingness that is not empty but alive with fluctuations. Even in the absence of particles, fields quiver, energies appear and vanish in fleeting instants. These fluctuations are the whispers of possibility, the seeds from which creation may arise. In one vision of the cosmos, our universe began as such a fluctuation, a bubble of space-time swelling out of the vacuum, expanding with inflation, until galaxies and stars could form. If this is true, then nothing was never truly nothing. It was a sea of quiet potential, waiting for one fluctuation to swell into a universe like ours. To bring this into imagination, picture a still pond at midnight. The water seems perfectly calm, black and featureless, but if you look closely you see ripples, small, fleeting, rising and fading without sound. The surface is never truly still. The quantum vacuum is like that pond, and the universe is one ripple that never faded but grew, spreading outward until it became an ocean of galaxies. In this image, nothing is not sterile but fertile, a silence pregnant with sound, a darkness filled with hidden light. The birth of everything was not a break from nothing, but the flowering of possibility inherent in it. This idea is not only scientific but poetic, for it tells us that creation does not require fullness. It can arise from absence, from silence, from void. It suggests that emptiness is not to be feared, but embraced, for within it lies the seed of all that is. When we encounter silence in our own lives, when we feel the void of uncertainty or loss, perhaps we can see it differently, not as an end, but as a beginning, a space from which newness can arise. The universe itself testifies to this truth, that nothing can give birth to everything, that silence can sing, that emptiness can bloom. Cosmology offers many models of how this might have happened. Some imagine a quantum tunneling event, where a universe popped into being as though slipping through a doorway in the vacuum. Others propose that space itself undergoes cycles of birth and death, with each universe arising from the ashes of the one before. Still others suggest that universes are born eternally in inflation, bubbles blossoming endlessly from the vacuum sea. Each model is an attempt to describe the indescribable, to capture in equations the moment when nothing became something. None may be final, but all share the same awe. That being can arise where there was none. To rest with this thought is to rest with wonder. Imagine again the void before time. It has no edges, no colour, no form. It is not dark, because there is no light to be absent. It is not silent, because there is no sound to be stilled. It is not cold, because temperature has no meaning without matter. It is nothing, pure and complete. And yet, within this nothing, a spark ignites, a fluctuation arises, a bubble swells, space unfolds, time begins, light streams into existence. In a single breath, the void is no longer empty but alive, and the story of everything has begun. The poetry of this is that it never truly ends, for even now the vacuum still fluctuates, still hums with potential. Tiny particles appear and vanish in every corner of space, their presence fleeting but real. This background hum is the heartbeat of nothing, reminding us that creation is not a single event but an ongoing possibility. Even in emptiness, there is life. Even in silence, there is song. Even in nothing, there is everything. To know this is to know that we are never far from beginnings, that creation is always near, waiting to bloom again. Some scientists wonder whether universes are born continually, each a bubble swelling from the vacuum sea, each carrying its own laws, its own rhythm, its own story. If so, then our universe is not unique, but one blossom among countless others, each arising from the fertile nothing. The foam of existence is eternal, its bubbles infinite, its births unending. Nothing in this vision is not the absence of being, but the womb of infinity, the space in which all possibilities gestate. And we, fragile beings on a small planet, are part of this great birth, children of a void that is never empty. Philosophically, this challenges us. We are used to thinking of nothing as absence, as negation, as loss. But the universe teaches otherwise. Nothing is fullness in disguise, silence that holds a song, darkness that hides a dawn. To live with this awareness is to live differently, to see absence not as despair but as potential. When we encounter emptiness in our own lives, we can remember that from such emptiness the cosmos itself arose, that what feels like void may be the seedbed of beauty, yet unseen. The story of the universe is also the story of hope, the story that nothing can give birth to everything. So let us rest with this image, a void without time, silent and still, trembling with possibility. A fluctuation stirs, a bubble swells, space unfolds, time begins. Galaxies bloom, stars ignite, life awakens, thought emerges. From nothing comes everything, from silence comes song, from absence comes wonder. And we are here within the story, part of the unfolding that began in that first impossible breath. To contemplate this is to feel both fragile and infinite, to know that we are born of the void yet alive with light, to rest in the mystery that nothing is never truly nothing but always the beginning of everything, to step deeper into the mystery of nothing giving birth to everything, is to step into a space where language itself feels too small. We are trying to describe not simply an event, but the absence before events were possible. The silence before silence had meaning, the emptiness before there was a word for empty. And yet, from this immeasurable void, the entire cosmos unfolded. The paradox stirs the mind but also soothes the heart, because it suggests that beginnings are always possible, even where none can be seen. In physics, the quantum vacuum is not truly void. It hums with activity, seething with ephemeral particles that appear and vanish in less than an instant. These are called virtual particles, born from uncertainty itself, flickering into being from the fabric of nothing only to dissolve again. For us, they are invisible, yet their presence can be measured indirectly, their influence seen in the way atoms behave, in the subtle shifts of energy and space. The universe itself may have been such a fluctuation, a bubble that did not fade but expanded, a brief uncertainty that blossomed into eternity. Imagine this as a candle flame in complete darkness. The flame flickers for an instant, fragile and small. Normally, it would vanish, leaving the darkness unchanged. But in this one extraordinary case, the flame caught, and instead of fading, it grew, illuminating everything. Our universe may be that flame, a fluctuation that caught, an improbable spark that expanded until it became all that we see. The paradox is softened by the poetry. Nothingness was never barren, but always trembling with fire, always waiting for a spark to bloom into light. Another vision suggests that universes arise eternally, that creation is not singular, but constant. The process is called eternal inflation. A cosmic field continually expands, sprouting bubble universes endlessly, each sealed off from the others by space that swells too fast to cross. In this picture, nothing never ends, for nothing is always becoming something, always giving rise to new realities. Our universe is one bubble among countless others, one blossom in an infinite field. To live with this thought is to live with wonder that even if our universe ends, the process of birth continues, that nothing will always give birth to everything again. To bring this to imagination, picture a meadow in spring filled with dandelions. Each puffball releases countless seeds, each seed drifting into the air, each with the potential to root and bloom. Most vanish, carried into silence, but some land, some grow, some fill the meadow with new flowers. The multiverse may be such a meadow, and universes such seeds. Nothing is the air that carries them, invisible but alive, fertile with possibility. We are one blossom among infinite others, one expression of a process that never rests. To see this is to feel both humility and joy, to know that we are not the end but part of an endless blooming. There is also the possibility that nothingness itself is unstable, that emptiness cannot remain empty, that it always births something in order to balance itself. In this view, nothing is too pure to last, too symmetrical, too perfect. It cracks, it fluctuates, it spills over into being. This instability may sound like fragility, but in truth it is the opposite. It is creativity woven into the foundation of existence. The very nature of reality is to generate, to unfold, to become. Creation is not imposed from outside, but emerges naturally from the potential hidden within nothing itself. In this sense, creation is not an exception but the rule. Philosophically, this changes everything. We often fear emptiness, silence, void. We imagine nothingness as a negation, as death, as loss. But the universe shows us that emptiness is not sterile but fertile, not absence but potential. It is the womb of all that exists, the space from which everything arises. To embrace this is to embrace change, to see endings not as erasures, but as opportunities for new beginnings. If nothing can give birth to everything, then we need not fear the voids in our lives. They are not the end of meaning, but the space where meaning begins again. Consider this in the rhythm of your own breath. Between inhale and exhale there is a pause, a stillness that feels like nothing, but it is not empty. It is necessary. It is fertile. It is the space in which the rhythm of life rests and renews itself. Without the pause, breath would not be possible. The nothing between breaths is what allows breathing to continue. The same is true for the cosmos. The void is the pause, the silence that allows the song of existence to rise. It is not absence but rhythm, not death but renewal, not emptiness but promise. When we look to the future of our universe, we see that it too will return to a kind of nothingness. Stars will burn out, galaxies will fade, expansion will stretch light until it dissolves into darkness. But if the past teaches us anything, it is that such nothingness is never final. Out of the silence of the vacuum, new fluctuations may arise, new bubbles may form, new universes may bloom. The death of one universe is not the end of creation, but the opening for another. The cosmos is not a line but a cycle, not a single song but an eternal symphony. Nothing again and again gives birth to everything. This perspective offers comfort. It tells us that loss is not absolute, that endings are preludes to beginnings, that silence is not the absence of music but the rest that makes the melody whole. When we encounter voids in our own hearts, moments of grief, of uncertainty, of emptiness, we can remember that even the universe was born from such a void. Our lives too can bloom again, even from poles, even from nothing. The story of the cosmos is not distant from us but mirrored in us. For we are children of that same fertile nothing, born of the same paradox, carried by the same rhythm of renewal. So let us imagine again, a void without time, trembling with potential. A fluctuation stirs, a bubble swells, light bursts forth, stars ignite, galaxies spin, life awakens, thought blossoms, all of it, every atom, every breath, every dream is born of nothing. And still, the process continues, silent and unseen, waiting to give birth again. Nothing is not the opposite of everything. It is its source, its cradle, its promise. To rest with this awareness is to feel at peace. To know that even in silence, even in absence, the possibility of wonder is always present. To reach the end of this story is to return once more to the beginning, to the silence that came before beginnings themselves. Nothing in its purest form is not a void to fear, but a mystery to embrace. It is the silence from which every sound emerges, the darkness from which every light shines, the pause from which every breath begins. The universe itself was born from this silence, from this nothing, from this paradox of fertile emptiness. To understand this is not to solve the riddle, but to rest in its wonder, to feel peace in the truth that everything we know arose from what we cannot fully name. Cosmology tells us that even now the vacuum seethes with possibility. Virtual particles flicker in and out, space trembles with energy, uncertainty dances at the smallest scales. This hidden rhythm is the hum of creation, a reminder that nothing is never still. It's always becoming, always shifting, always carrying within it the potential to bloom. Our universe may have been one such fluctuation that lasted, a bubble that swelled rather than faded. But if it happened once, why not again? Why not eternally? Nothing is not the enemy of being. It is the wellspring from which being flows. Imagine this as a great arc sea. At first glance it appears empty, still, without wave or spark. But as you look closer, you see ripples, tiny motions spreading across its surface. Most vanish, dissolving into silence. But one ripple grows, gathering strength, swelling into a wave that never stops. That wave is our universe, rising from the sea of nothing, carrying galaxies and stars in its crest. Beyond it, other ripples may rise, other waves may bloom, other universes may unfold. The sea itself is never barren. It is alive with endless potential. Each ripple a story, each silence a promise. Philosophers remind us that the question of nothing and something is not only about physics, but about meaning. If everything arises from nothing, then existence itself is gift, unearned and fragile, yet infinitely precious. We did not need to be, and yet we are. The atoms of our bodies, the thoughts in our minds, the love in our hearts, all are possible only because nothing bloomed into everything. To live with this awareness is to live with gratitude, to see each moment as miraculous, to understand that we are not separate from the mystery but woven into it. We are not bystanders to creation, we are part of its unfolding. This vision also reshapes how we see endings. If nothing can give birth to everything, then nothing is not the end of story but the continuation of it. The universe itself may one day fade, its stars extinguished, its galaxies dissolved, its energy stretched thin across the void. But even then, the vacuum will remain, trembling with possibility, ready to bloom again. From that silence, new universes may arise, new stories may begin, new lights may shine. Death is not a wall but a door, not an erasure but a pause. The silence after the song is not the end of music, but the space in which a new melody can rise. In our own lives too, we encounter moments of nothing, losses that feel like voids, silences that feel unbearable, emptinesses that seem to erase meaning. But if the cosmos teaches us anything, it is that such nothing is not final. Out of emptiness, new beginnings arise. Out of sours, new voices speak. Out of loss, new love blooms. The story of the universe is not distant from our story, but reflected in it. Just as everything arose from nothing, so too can our lives blossom again, from silence, from absence, from the fertile ground of what seems empty. Now picture yourself at night, standing beneath a sky of stars. The light above you travelled for billions of years, yet each photon began as part of the great unfolding from nothing. The starlight itself is a message from that first moment, a reminder that we live inside a miracle too large to name. You breathe, and the air you inhale is made of atoms born in stars. Stars born because nothing once bloomed into everything. Each breath is a bridge between silence and being, between emptiness and fullness, between nothing and everything. To be alive is to walk that bridge, to live inside the paradox, to embody the miracle. Science cannot yet answer why there is something rather than nothing. Perhaps it never will, but perhaps the answer is not in proof but in presence. The fact that we are here, that the universe exists, that life has emerged, is itself the answer. Nothing did give birth to everything, and we are its children, its voices, its dreamers. The cosmos does not explain itself in words, but in stars and galaxies, in the quiet truth of existence itself. To live is to receive the explanation, not in logic, but in wonder, not in certainty, but in awe. And so, as this story closes, let us rest in the awareness that nothing is not emptiness but potential, not silence but music unheard, not absence but possibility waiting to bloom. From it the universe arose, from it stars were born, from it life awakened, from it we exist. And even when our time ends, when silence returns, nothing will remain, trembling with the possibility of giving birth again. To know this is to know that we are never truly lost, that we are always part of the rhythm, that creation is not behind us but within us, around us, before us, and beyond us. So let us carry this truth gently. Nothing gave birth to everything, and everything we know is part of that miracle. Our lives, our thoughts, our love, our wonder, all of it arises from the fertile silence, the generous void, the infinite possibility. We are the children of nothing, yet we are filled with everything. The stars are our ancestors, the void is our mother, and the future is always blooming from the silence. To live is to honour this mystery, to breathe with it, to rest in it, to marvel that out of nothing there is us. There is light, there is the universe itself.